Yo, so I have been busy for a while. I have been working on my new film, doing the pre-production stuff on that, really annoying, editing my previous film, and I'm also doing editing jobs for other people. So doing reviews has been something difficult to get around to, but I'm still working on it. Do not worry, they will be coming. Anyways, in the last couple of days, I was able to squeeze in a couple of new films, so here's one of them. I went to see Men. God, that sounds wrong. I went to see Alex Garland's Men. It is the third film he's directed. It is an A24 produced horror movie, and I kind of enjoyed it. To avoid spoilers, I'm going to be vague with what the plot is about. Men follows Harper, a young woman played by Jessie Buckley, who you may know from movies like I'm Thinking of Ending Things or The Lost Daughter. Harper is taking a trip to the country for some alone time, but her trip is quickly ruined by a naked man.
This is my move. It's called the Naked Man.
Anyway, this ends up triggering a series of weird events, and then eventually it kind of becomes a horror movie. I cannot stress this enough. If you like the mainstream brand of horror movies, you know, you got your Get Outs, your Halloween Kills, and whatnot. There's nothing wrong with that, but I would suggest to steer away from this movie because this movie not only becomes more of an art house horror movie, but it gets downright weird and like alienating amounts of weird, okay? So yeah, it's like metaphorically weird, and you're not gonna have a good time if this is not your type of movie. Now, I actually went to see this movie with a friend of mine, and they said that the movie had too much of a slow start for them. I didn't find this to be true for my experience, at least. I think the film was actually pretty well paced. I think it gets to the scary stuff pretty quickly. I guess there's just one scene in the beginning that is kind of a little long, where it's like, you know, one character showing the main character around the environment, and they just like kind of have this extensive view of the environment. And I guess it does kind of help in a sort of setup kind of way. You know how like James Wan does that in the Conjuring movies, where he shows the entire house where things are about to take place. This actually gives the audience an idea of what the place is like and the layout of the place is like. So, you know, when they're in chase scenes and stuff like that, the audience can actually connect to where they're going to be going. The film sets itself up pretty good that way. What proceeds after is a lot of flashback storytelling. Unfortunately, these flashbacks aren't too interesting, mainly because they tend to focus on a storyline that is kind of redundant. We've seen a lot of times the typical couple having a fight and that fight escalating to certain levels. It's kind of a scene we've seen over and over again, and it kind of just falls into the kind of melodrama category. Now, that doesn't feel like an unintentional thing. It might be exactly that. That actually might be the aim of the filmmaker. There are points within the middle of the film where I kind of found myself just a little more dissociated from what was going on, but just a tiny bit, really. And it was a little more just because I was kind of expecting a lot of the dialogue scenes to go where they were going to go, and they ended up going where they were going to go. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Once again, I think that was also, once again, the intention of the filmmaker, but I also do think that at the same time, it just wasn't what I was really hoping to get out of this film. I was going in hoping to be surprised by maybe some new, more exterior element to my perspective on what this film is going to be, but I did end up getting exactly what I expected this film to be, and that's not a negative thing, but it is, you know, it's just, you know, I'm left wanting at the end of the day. The film pays off for the wait pretty well. The climax is pretty great. There's like sequence after sequence of really good set pieces going on. I mean, there's this one sequence where it's actually just lighting effects that are going on, and that's really fun and interesting. After that, there's this other part where it's more makeup and CGI centered, and in that part, I really like this particular effect they do in this particular shot they do, where it's a really great looking gore CGI effect, but also at the same time, it also kind of means a lot in terms of story. So I really enjoyed that. After that, the film decides to get pretty damn weird. There's this very Cronenbergian scene where it's just body transformation stuff, and it's very long and very extensive, and honestly, to me, I felt it was kind of repetitive. I personally kind of understood the point of it, and I knew that it was being repetitive for a reason too, but I honestly felt like it kind of messed with the film's pacing. It turned the scene downright comedic. people in my audience were laughing. And once again, this could be interpreted as intentional, but I personally found that it took me out of the overall experience. Another thing I'd like to note is that while the CGI in the earlier effect I was talking about was actually really good, I kind of found it to look a little less good in this one. It kind of looked like, you know, if you remember a couple of years ago, there was this disgusting trend of cool 3D world videos where it was just like disgusting, blobby, fat, weird things. And like, honestly, to some extent, it kind of looked like that because proportions were just off in what they were doing with their transformation scenes. And so that really kind of took me out because it isn't like, it's just the type of stuff that I just don't enjoy. But all in all, I can't entirely mark it off because I don't think that it is exactly a case of the director missing his mark. I think it's just a case of it not landing with me. I have to say, if there's something I enjoyed from this film, it definitely was the cinematography. I think it was gorgeous. I am a sucker for lush greens throughout the screen, and this movie did not disappoint. From the trailer, I noticed that I was really gonna enjoy this. I mean, that shot of her looking down a tunnel that they also used for the poster really gave me memories of Murder vibes. And while this movie doesn't have really any similar elements to that movie, it was still kind of cool to see that kind of shot play out. Like I mentioned before, there's also that whole sequence near the end of the film where there's just a bunch of really cool lighting effects they're pulling off. There is one choice I will say is questionable, is within the flashback scenes, there is this orange sort of lighting tint. It's like as if it's golden hour outside the entire time, and it is just kind of weird because I'm having trouble perceiving why they would do that. But aside from that and the weird cool 3D world CGI around the end of the movie, the film has really awesome looking visuals, and I think it's worth watching for that alone. In terms of performances, there are actually only 4 to review, so this isn't going to be that hard. I would say that Rory Kinnear definitely has the best performance in the film. He is doing a lot of different types of things. You'll find out very quickly once you watch the movie. Or even just watch a trailer and you'll realize what I'm talking about. But he's very good at keeping a nice balance between, you know, keeping the tone a horror tone or a sort of thriller tone, and also, you know, keeping things light at moments. And so he was just a delight to watch, and he really made this film work, because this is a kind of film where if that specific type of performance does not work, then the whole film does not work. I'm grateful that we got this guy doing it and not, you know, like fucking Jared Leto. As for Jessie Buckley is also good as always. Literally, I have loved her since I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I specifically really liked her in The Lost Daughter. She's just overall solid, and I have no gripes with her. Moving on to the other performances, Jessie Buckley's character has a friend that she normally just does video calls with. This person honestly wasn't a bad actor. I think maybe just the video format was just not the most engaging way to present a character, but what are you gonna do? I mean, it is kind of necessary to the script for her to be far away. I think her performance was serviceable. I don't think there was anything really major for her to do in it, and it was all right. It was not bad, not good. Last and certainly least, we have Harper's husband, who appears in the flashbacks, and he really does kind of need some tweaks. It's just something about his line delivery just didn't work out. I think he felt like too much of a caricature of what he was doing, and even when he was being a caricature, I just was not sold on his emotions. And so it was very awkward to have scenes with him, because I think he just kind of brought down whatever impact those scenes were having. And I guess that's also why I kind of caught that melodrama aspect from him. Now you're a man, a man. Overall, Men is going to sit in that weird limbo state for me, where I don't think it's a terrible movie. I actually think it's a pretty good movie. I just don't think it's a good movie for someone like me. I really enjoyed the cinematography. I thought it was really nice looking. The performances were overall pretty good. CGI was fairly decent. There was that one scene, but once again, that's interpretable. It could also be intentional. A lot of that is genuinely subjective, and so honestly, I don't think that any mark was missed on the director's end. I just think that none of these marks actually landed with me, and you know, that's just the way it be. Did I rhyme? I guess I did rhyme. 3 out of 5. Take the bros out and have them experience some patriarchy. Men, we don't know what we did. Whoa, hey, didn't see you there. what are you doing here? You've reached the end of the video and you've been here for this long, so either you actually enjoy my content or maybe you just, fucking passed out and like it's on autoplay, and maybe later you'll be redirected to some other type of video or something like that. Maybe some Minecraft tutorials, I don't know. Anyway, since you got here, I wanted to take the time to tell you, subscribe to the channel and give this video a like, and go watch the other videos on the channel. Go visit my film channel, Dead Time Films. I promise there will be new stuff on it someday, but go watch the old ones because, they're nice. I'm proud of them. Just gonna give you a quick little update as well. I actually am working on some more videos for this channel too. I went to see a couple of new films. I went to see David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future. I have a lot to say about that one. I am planning on seeing the new Top Gun. Probably gonna have stuff to say about that too. And I'm still working on my Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 video. It's just taking a while because the movie is terrible, and I also have like 10 different editing projects to be working on. I'm also pre-producing for my next film, editing my previous film, and just loaded with work. Speaking of my next film, I have a GoFundMe campaign. Consider donating, consider just visiting the page and sharing it. The link is in the description. We need all the help we can get. Making movies is expensive and a pain in the ass, so help a brother out. Have a good night. Take care. I love you all. Peace.